aside. Hello and welcome to the Hedera HashCast. Today I'm joined by Matthew DeLorenzo, CEO of Lambdaplex Labs, to talk about his platform that launched just a little over a month ago in June. Thank you for joining me, Matthew. How's it going?
It's going great. Thanks for having me.
Well, of course. Now, before we get into some more technical questions, for our lovely audience, would you please give kind of a general, basic boilerplate idea of what exactly Lambdaplex is and how they might interact with it?
Yeah, Lambdaplex is a decentralized order book exchange on the Hedera network. So we offer limit orders and market orders, more advanced order types. So you just kind of go there and trade tokens as you want. We also have various ways to provide liquidity in a healthy and managed way using market makers. So we're sort of offering quite a lot different than what's currently available on Hedera. And yeah, it's just been really fun building it. A lot of winding paths, but eventually we've gotten to mainnet, which we're very happy about. So yeah.
As you said, Lambdaplex introduces an on-chain order book model to the Hedera ecosystem. What would you say were the core technical bottlenecks in Hedera's current DeFi landscape that convinced you an order book approach was necessary over traditional AMMs?
Yeah, that's a pretty good question. So I think the biggest exchanges in the world are not AMMs. So if you go trade stocks on like NASDAQ or New York Stock Exchange, like they're not using an AMM. They're using dynamic order books. So if you want a lot of different participants that are incentivized to trade against each other or offer the best price to traders around the world, you need to have some aspects of it that are off chain. So just being on chain with the time to finality on the order of like seconds, it's not really fast enough to very quickly change your bid-ask spreads and offer like the most competitive prices to traders. So we realized pretty quickly that the next generation of exchange ought to be parts of it off chain and parts of it on chain. So on Lambdaplex, the order submission is off chain, and we keep signed bytes of users' orders. And then when it's time to match them with somebody else, their trade is settled on chain. So we sort of cut out the settlement layer of like the clearinghouse and whatnot of maybe a stock exchange, and everything that settles on chain is verifiable and auditable, and you can see exactly what happened and who you traded with and where your fees went. So it offers like quite a bit, and there's just more to it when there's many active participants. Like I think it just becomes more competitive, and you're not really just following a AMM curve like X times Y equals K. I mean, it's great for what it is, don't get me wrong, but when you have more mature assets, I think an order book is the more appropriate venue.
Let's talk a little bit about your career. Before Lambdaplex, you've been around the Hedera ecosystem. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience?
Yeah, so before Lambdaplex, I was a founding member of Saucer Swap. So I was involved with deploying the smart contracts and testing them and checking the security and whatnot. So pretty much all the Hedera contracts up until 2024 were deployed, from me and my computer.
So you were the most valuable Saucer Swap member.
I wouldn't say that necessarily. we were a team.
I mean, it seems like you made the magic happen, baby. I mean, come on.
That particular magic I made happen, but we all worked very hard, and it was great for a long time. So I'm very happy with how Saucer Swap has matured over the years and gotten to be actually a very good product. So yeah, I was very proud to be part of that, but I wouldn't say I was like the central figure. We had a delegation of responsibilities, and everybody, did actually a very good job.
No, very, very widely celebrated team, I would say, in the Hedera ecosystem. What do you think was kind of your initial reactions being a founding member of SaucerSwap kind of in those early days? Obviously it's turned into a much bigger thing than probably you or any of us anticipated. So I'm interested, and I'm sure my viewers are interested to kind of get your take on those early days and what the temperature was kind of like.
So when I started, it was sort of like the peak of the bull market of 2021. And the early days were like very exciting with the DeFi stuff. It's sort of like the DeFi summer and all that was going on. But Hedera was really not there in terms of a chain. The dev tooling was very immature, and it was actually like really hard to ship something like SaucerSwap. Like, you think it's kind of easy, like, oh, you just sort of fork Uniswap v2 and everything, just works. But the Hedera token service was not integrated yet with smart contracts. So as Swirlds at the time was integrating Hedera tokens with smart contracts, we were like grinding preview net as the new features came out. So like every new feature came out, we were on this flaky preview net, and we were using custom tooling. A lot of the tooling that we take for granted just didn't exist on Hedera yet. There was no hash scan at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty
It's
rough.
easy to forget those days.
Yeah, totally. There was Dragon Glass at the very beginning, it was okay. Like,
It was okay.
I'm glad that it was there, but hash scan sort of like improved a lot. I'm sort of like geeking out because I have some like trauma from those days. But every time something
well,
failed,
tell me about it.
Yeah, every time something failed, it wouldn't tell you why. You would just get like contract revert executed in the terminal. Like, okay, it just reverted. That's all you know. So we were doing really trashy ways to figure out these revert reasons. And like it's not like today where you go on HashScan and it says like, oh, this vendor doesn't have the allowance. Like, that would have been really nice to have at the time. But
just like guessing, like something went wrong somewhere.
Totally some guessing. There were some really hacky ways we figured it out. But looking back, it was actually good that it was hard to build because anybody could have built it and sort of outmaneuvered us. So we were willing to crawl through the mud in order to get to where we were. It was really pretty tough back then, but we knew.
Do you mean tough as in competition or just as in building it?
There was no competition. It was just hard to build it.
I know that Hedera was kind of pushing, goodness, now I'm going to forget what they were called, HeliSwap, around that time. And, it was a big fat flop, pardon my French, did not take off whatsoever.
Yeah, definitely. I looked at their contracts to make sure they were like legit and everything, and they were. They did it a little bit more, like, I don't want to say better than us, but they were a little more precise, partially because we were first. And like I said, they were like, Swirlds was developing this like at the same time we were. So we didn't have the benefit of like looking a year later and starting. So I think HeliSwap came out about, I want to say like 6 to 12 months after we launched at Saucer. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, they didn't really need to be two of the same thing. I think that's part of the reason they flopped. And some of the marketing was maybe a little strange at times, but.
Well, and they refused to add Grelf, and I think that was probably the differentiator.
Yeah, they should have definitely been airdropping Heli tokens to the Grelf HBAR pool.
Like, come on, guys. You're slow. You're slowing down. It's weird when, and it wasn't just with them. Uh, Blade Wallet is another example of kind of like a platform that was maybe pushed more than Hashpack, and kind of thought of themselves as, well, we're the kind of the enterprise and institutional version of this. But it's, at the end of the day, it's DeFi. What do you don't have to you don't have to like work worse for the main market. That's not like a differentiator, is like, well, we're bad for you, but these other people that we do it for them, we're good for them.
Yeah, there was a lot of how do I word this?
What's the PR
I don't
answer?
even want to go there because like, yeah, the foundation, they had some hits and they had some misses. So I think we all sort of know how it, in retrospect, how it turned out. But I will, kind of defend them because at the time you don't really know what's going to take off and what isn't. So like, it's easy to look back and say like, yeah, that one, they weren't a serious project, or that one they were. I mean, there has to be some vetting, of course, but it's like, if even in venture capital, like these guys are, pretty smart, and most of the things they back don't work out. So it's not really that different in crypto.
That's fair. I'm a marketing guy, so I always look at the marketing, and in both cases, I'm obviously very biased. I know a lot of the teams behind both SauceSwap and Hashpack, and they're good people, and I don't really know anything about the other people behind the other ones, so I am very biased. But marketing, communication wise, very ahead of the game, I would say. If I was going to give some praise to you, one burning question before we move on to more Lambdaplex stuff. What was the rationale? Because SauceSwap's a fork of Uniswap. What was the rationale between like changing the V numbers? Like V2 versus V3, V1 versus V2.
So it's off by one because we never launched a SauceSwap V1. Or no, we never forked Uniswap V1. So Uniswap
So you started
V1
with V1.
Yeah, so
but it was Uniswap V2.
Yes. So the SauceSwap version 1 was a fork of Uniswap V2. So that's why it's like offset.
But why not just say V2?
Because then there would be no SauceSwap V1. Like,
does that matter?
I mean, how can
this is something I've thought about a lot. Here's my thing. I'm just going to push it. It's not even a question. I don't think anyone would have cared if it was called V2 at the start.
Well, I mean, I was just sort of the smart contract guy. I left people.
I blame you personally. I think you need to fix it.
Go change the smart contract.
Well, because they're doing V3, and I'm like, that's V4.
Well, yeah.
It's just, it makes me like, so I got into DeFi through SaucerSwap. That was my first exposure to it. I did not participate in DeFi before SaucerSwap. Didn't care about it. I was like a college professor at the time. I did not expect that I would be in this community for this long, have a career in crypto. So I made my bones with SaucerSwap. And then I got a job on another chain, Flare Network. And I'm having to constantly like self-censor myself because everybody's like V3, V3, V3. And I'll like throw in a V2 and everybody looks at me like I'm a dummy. I blame you.
I don't know what to tell you, man. It's there's no sauce. Well, we never cloned Uniswap V1. It was already obsolete by the time SaucerSwap was born.
That's fine. Just launch with V2. No one was going to say anything. We didn't know anything at the time. I think you're overestimating your audience. We were just like, oh, it could have been called SaucerSwap BitBop. We would have been like, BitBop's here. We love it. We didn't know. We didn't know any better.
BitBop.
SaucerSwap the BitBop.
We had some funny one. Like, oh, we can just like fork it and call it like Soccer Swap, like Sorcerer Swap.
Now that
Yeah,
I like Sorcerer
wizards and
Swap. That
stuff.
would have been was that a potential name? Did you already know it was going to be Saucer Swap, or were there other things floating around?
I think that we were just joking around, like after Saucer was made, uh, let's just like rebrand as Sorcerer Swap.
That would be so cool. That would be so cool. If anyone's listening and is also on like another new network that needs a DEX and didn't have it, steal that. That's gold. Now, given your deep history with HTS and improvements of all kinds with smart contracts, and your experience with learning the Hedera network in these early days, how does Lambdaplex uniquely harness Hedera native capabilities or specialized HIPs compared to building a similar order book protocol on an EVM equivalent layer 2 or alternative L1?
So Lambdaplex was built like specifically for Hedera tokens. There are some quirks to Hedera tokens that are not present on other networks. One of them is that the maximum supply of a token it fits into a uint64. So that means it takes 64 bytes. So that's relevant when you're calculating the gas cost of doing a swap and writing to a smart contract. So storage on a smart contract is the most expensive thing you can do. By a lot. So anything you can do to write fewer bytes to a storage slot is going to have a big impact on the gas cost. So our cost to settle trades is like, I think at the minimum, because we don't have to write an entire storage slot for the token amount. And we can support we can basically swap the entire token supply of a token so we don't really lose any precision there. So in terms of gas savings, we definitely took advantage of some Hedera qualities. And when it comes to authorizing signatures, we use a Hedera precompile. So it's compatible with the ED25519 keys and the ECDSA keys. It supports signing using a complex key type.
Could you elaborate on, because a lot of people might not be familiar with those two wallet types. Could you elaborate a little bit more on which each one is?
Yeah, it's the cryptographic signature schema. So like the ED25519 is the Hedera native encryption. I think it's like longer and more complicated, I think, but I don't really know too much about cryptography. And then the ECDSA keys is the native EVM, like Ethereum ECDSA keys. And so you have like your choice of cryptographic signatures you can make. So you mean for the users of like Hashpack, for example, like you have your choice when you go to create a new wallet, like do you want an ECDSA key or do you want an ED key? So the ED keys, they can be rekeyed on the Hedera accounts, but the ECDSA keys can never be rekeyed. So there's some like quirks on the network for using each key. The ECDSA keys play a little nicer with smart contracts, and the ED keys, they're more like Hedera native. So if you're not using smart contracts, I think the ED keys are probably the way to go.
Yeah, rekeying the account. I've used that multiple times. It's nice. It
is pretty nice. Yeah. It's also cool. They have like native multi-signature support. So if you want to have a Hedera account that has multiple keys for it, you can create a threshold and you can create the number of total keys for that account. So if like me and you are sharing an account and we each have our own key, you could set up the Hedera account so that only one of our keys is required and each one of us could sign something like by ourselves without the other. Sort of like a joint checking account, if you're married. Each person's authorized to debit from it. But you can have even more complicated key types. You can nest them or do any of that stuff. So instead of one plain key or two plain keys for the example we gave, one of the keys could also be a complex key type. So you can sort of have like a chain of key types that go down the list. But I believe that that's also supported with this precompile.
I mean, that's a little more complicated that I feel like a lot of our users or audience will be doing, but it's good to have such a large amount of functionality, and the fact that you're thinking through it and like what's going to be useful to our platform, and but also not cutting anyone out, because I don't know what the numbers are. I'd be interested to know. Obviously, the vast majority are going to be using kind of just because they were here before it was like a thing, the old type of wallet, and not the smart contract EVM more compatible wallet. But I'm sure that number's increasing, people using that.
Yeah, I think when it came out, people were kind of skeptical of it, but it's also like it just plays nicer with some smart contract stuff that sometimes it's much better to have it. I think most users, they're never going to rekey their account anyway, so it doesn't matter.
They probably should. If you haven't rekeyed your account in a while, maybe give it a shot. Try it out. Copy everything down, but you know, it's good to do a refresh every now and again.
Definitely copy it. Well, the thing is that if you rekey your account and there's some problem with printing it out, or like you clear your terminal or something, then it's gone. So like that's what I worry about with rekeying an account. Like, I don't know, my computer crashes or something. And
maybe don't do it every week.
The HashPack makes it easy though. Like you can just do it on HashPack. That'd be nice.
Definitely do it on HashPack.
Account, think of using a script in the terminal.
Yeah, don't just do it on HashPack. It's easy. Hopefully nothing goes wrong. Now, Lambdaplex recently completed, of a little bit before launch, a few days before launch, I believe, its independent security assessment of the core contracts with SoftStack. What were some of the most critical architectural hurdles or edge cases that came out of that audit process? I'm assuming there weren't that many because it launched fairly soon after.
Yeah, honestly, I kind of forget what they found. I think there was nothing like major, but the thing is with the evolution of it, we were trying to launch with hooks. So we were.
I remember talking to you about this a little bit on the Hash Chat X space.
Yeah, the idea of hooks was you could install a smart contract to your Hedera account, and that contract will authorize token allowances on your behalf based on whatever the code of that hook said. So you could have a hook that said, this person gets an allowance of this per day, and it would like reset as they call the hook to get their allowance. That's sort of like a dumb example, but there's a lot of different customizable things you could have done to it. And one of the things that we did was we would invoke the hook to fill a limit order or a market order. So we would use your hook as authorization and also as a place for users to store their orders. So in that situation, you would have every user writing their own orders to their own hooks. So it's all like separate. Like only your hook storage had all your orders. And when we move to a smart contract, all the orders are kind of just together in a smart contract. There's plenty of space for everything. A smart contract storage goes up to a UNT 256 type. So that's 2 raised to the 256 storage slots. That for context, that's more atoms than there are in the universe. So there's totally enough room, but it was cool to have it like sanitary where all of your orders would be on your hook and then my orders are on my hook. And it seemed like a cool idea at the time, but it just didn't take off in Hashgraph. So we had to pivot. But where I was going with all that was we had the protocol already written in Solidity with the hooks. So we had an audit on that already. And then it was pretty easy to just like put it into a smart contract and tell everybody to write your orders in the same smart contract. So like when I think of the audit process, a lot of the work was done assuming that it was going to be a hook.
So it was kind of a big change.
Yeah, a lot of the code got recycled. So yeah, it's sort of like 2 audits.
Well, now with the protocol launched, we're on Hedera mainnet. What would you say are the primary scaling or liquidity bootstrapping challenges you anticipate facing in these early phases? And how is Lambdaplex best positioned to address them?
Well, I'd say our main advantage is that we don't really need a lot of liquidity to be competitive with like saucer swap AMMs. If you have like $5,000 or $10,000 on either side of a market, it's really not hard to give like a better swap price and less slippage on like 99% of trades. It's only the huge trades you can't really fill because you don't have enough money. But if you look at the histogram of all the trades that are done like throughout the history of saucer swap, the average trade is only like, I think it was like $100. That's the average.
Okay, that's even higher than I thought. I thought it'd be like $50, $45.
The median's probably in that like the $20 range. But you have these like $10,000, $20,000 trades that pull up.
So it offsets it, right? It makes sense.
So if you think about like the median trade, it's even more, even better for like an order book. Like, you just don't need that much liquidity. So that said, we do want to maximize liquidity and volume on our network or on our protocol. And so to do that, we are using vaults to crowdsource liquidity. So the idea of a vault is users are encouraged to deposit asset pairs into the vault, and then in exchange, they get shares of the vault. So if a vault's worth like $100 and you put in $10, you have 10% of the vault and you have 10% of the total shares. I mean, not exactly because it's $110 versus $100, but.
Are you guys managing the vault, or are you using like a third party to manage the vault?
Now we're using a third party. It's a market making company called Enflux, and they manage the vaults. So they do a pretty good job of keeping tight spreads and managing the liquidity. But ideally, we wanted to scale it so that like anybody can run a vault. I think that's sort of that would be the funnest thing, where anybody can just apply to make a vault, and then it's up to them to deposit or get people to deposit into theirs because they're offering a superior.
Right. And if they do a better job,
exactly.
Free market. Yeah. No, that's really interesting. And I definitely have a friend who'd be very interested in that.
Well, we're looking for people who want to do it. So you should hook us up.
I will hook you up. High frequency trading and order book dynamics. This is kind of what we were talking about. Appeal heavily to sophisticated or institutional market makers. How do you plan to bridge everyday retail users on Hedera into the Lambdaplex ecosystem, who maybe a step below my friend who would, want to manage a vault?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, for the retail side, we want to just give the best liquidity, the tightest spread, and the best price. So I think I learned at Saucer Swap that many parts of the world are very fee sensitive. So you can imagine, certain countries or areas of the world where the gas fee actually does make a big difference. And if they want to trade something like $1 and their gas fee is like, 10 cents to do a trade on Saucer Swap, then, they're sort of getting like eaten alive by fees. So on Saucer or on Lambdaplex, we have it so that there is no gas that's paid. So you sign a chain you sign an order that's off chain, and we hold on to it until it's ready to be matched in our matching engine with a counterparty. So we want to make it as cheap as possible for retail to trade, and we also want to give them the best possible price. So in that way, I think we're like very competitive. even competitive decentralized exchanges. But I don't think retail should worry too much about like the sophisticated algorithmic traders that are like getting edge from them. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still like I think the best place to do business. Even if you go to NASDAQ or something, like it's very sophisticated there, but you're still going to get sort of the best price that you can for an asset, or a stock in this case. So I wouldn't worry too much about like, I mean, if you're going to compete with them on the other hand and try to do like high frequency trading against Jane Street, like, all right, good luck. But if you want to buy and hold something, it's really not that big of a deal. Just go where the fees are the lowest and the experience is the best. And just have fun.
Save money, have fun.
Yeah.
Now let's talk a bit about your token Plex. How is the Plex token structurally integrated to align incentives between market makers, traders, and the underlying matching service infrastructure provided by Lambdaplex Labs?
So the Plex token is an incentive token for providing liquidity. And so if you provide liquidity in a vault, then you'll have Plex sort of streamed to you on a per second basis. So in that way, you're sort of being compensated for your risk, because when you do supply to a vault, there is some risk. Like the market maker could make a mistake or could get arbitrage or something could, I mean, yeah, you could just like lose money through trading somehow. Like market makers are, they're not perfect. So in order to compensate for this risk, we stream Plex rewards to users or depositors to the vault. And the Plex token has two main features to it. The first is that it's like a buyback. There's a buyback mechanism to it. So all the swap fees that are collected by Lambdaplex are used to buy the token back. So there's this built-in demand for Plex token just based on usage of the protocol. And if you stack Plex tokens, you unlock reduced fee tiers. So you can reduce your fee tiers by having 30-day volume that's like drops you down to lower fee tiers, or you can hold Plex token to drop down in fee tiers as well. So those are the main benefits of having Plex token. Yeah.
Looking at the broader trajectory of the Hedera ecosystem, what missing primitives or infrastructure pieces do you still think need to be built to help Hedera genuinely compete with multi-chain DeFi liquidity hubs?
There just needs to be like more activity. It's just hard, man. Like you build things and you hope people come, but at the end of the day, you need like bridges. You need things like that, and you need like actually like decentralized apps, like these dApps that people actually want to use. It's sort of like the field of dreams. Like if you build it, they will come. Like, so if you build like a top quality DEX and you're doing things that are like unique and cool and fun and people want to be there, then, the liquidity will come. But as far as like primitives, I would say that this Clipper idea is actually really cool. I think that will open up like a highway of liquidity to the network. I also believe that RWAs are sort of like the future of crypto. I've been in this field for a while now, and there hasn't really been anything in the application that's prevailed besides finance. So RWA is sort of, I think, the next step. Unlocks like 24/7 trading. The settlement layer is the network itself, so you don't have to deal with like clearinghouses, and like there's some difficulty there on the settlement layer of like stock exchanges, for example, and all that can be avoided with like RWAs. So I would say the Clipper project is like very important to get right, because we need some liquidity and attention over at Hedera.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like a huge thing, but it's hard to know when it's going to come out or how it's going to be.
I think there's a prototype coming fairly soon. I mean, don't quote me on that, but it's. I think we're going to get a little something at some point here.
I sure hope so. Anytime we look to the future, I feel like that's a good stopping point. I'd like to once again thank my guest for joining me today. And if there's any last thoughts you have or a statement you'd like to end on, the floor is yours.
Yeah. If you're interested in what we're doing, you can go check out our website. It's lambdaplex.io. You can follow us on Twitter at Lambdaplex. And we have a Discord. You can personally talk to me there. And we have a small but rowdy group of people who love to trade and have fun. So if you want to come there, that's great too. But yeah, definitely just go to our website, place a trade. It's free. You don't have to pay gas or anything, and just see how you like it.
Try it out, save money, have fun. This has been the Hedera HashCast. Now, don't take this the wrong way, but you strike me as an anime watcher. Do you have any favorite anime or manga series?
I'm not an anime watcher, my friend.
Oh my gosh, I mispegged you. Do you have a favorite animal?
Not really.